Hello everyone, today is 9th of December, now it's 10:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. And I will start with the developments in Syria and around Syria because of course this is a major headline maker right now. Everybody is talking about it, and so first of all, let me give you answer on the question: where is the Assad? Yesterday, all of you know, of course, that Reuters reported that Assad probably died as a result of plane crash in Syria, and many media outlets went with this story. Although later on, Russian media outlets reported that Assad with his family have been granted asylum in Russia, and they are in Moscow. So former Syrian President Bashar Assad has been granted asylum in Russia and has arrived in Moscow with his family. RIA Novosti and TASS news agency reported on Sunday, citing Kremlin sources. The development comes as the Syrian militants seize control of Damascus, effectively ending Assad's 24-year rule. So that's when it comes to this topic. Assad is alive and well, he is in Russia. Some may argue, of course, why Russia granted him asylum. Moscow probably should be mad at him because he lost control over its militaries, security services, country eventually. I can understand the logic behind such an approach, but I guess Moscow had given some promises to secure his family and him, and once they arrived in Russia, what should Moscow do? I mean, tell them no, just go away. It would not work that way. And after all, one should keep in mind that Moscow had long-standing relationships with the Assad family, with the father of Assad, previous leader of Syria, Hafez Assad, and therefore, of course, Moscow don't really have a choice but to, in respect of history of this close ties between Moscow and Damascus. Russia had no choice, I guess, Russian leadership to grant him asylum. Anyways, that's the answer for that question, right? But when it comes to Syria, by the way, well, with the exception of these northern eastern parts that you see on this map, by the way, that are colored in yellow, with the exception of this part, the rest of the Syria is effectively controlled by this Israeli, US, UK, and Turkish-backed, financed, armed, and trained and controlled terrorists, including Latakia province. According to reports that I see, terrorists entered the city of what is the name, by the way, Jabla, where Russian military base is located, for example, and the Russian militaries are surrounded with these terrorists right now. Although officially there was no statements from Moscow about fate of Russian bases in Syria, but in Russian segment of internet, some well-informed sources are reporting that the process of withdrawal of Russian bases effectively has begun. Orders being given to organize withdrawal in a safe manner. Meanwhile, according to some reports, these Western-backed, Turkish-backed terrorist groups are issuing security guarantees for Russian military personnel. I mean, if that guarantee of those terrorists means anything, right? Yet again, no official statements from Russian side about fate of these bases, but well-informed sources are reporting that, in short, there will be no more Russian presence in Syria. I would not be surprised if Russian embassy will also close its doors, and if Russian embassy staff will be evacuated, because I find it difficult to understand why would Moscow ever recognize the legitimacy of these terrorists that overrun Syria. So therefore, presence of Russia in Syria is counting its last days, I guess, which is a tragedy, in my personal opinion, for Syrian people. Even if they don't understand right now, well, they will realize in fairly short time what has really happened, and they will regret, by the way. Majority of Syrian people will regret that they did not die fighting against these terrorists. That's how terrible their situation is going to be. Just give it a time, and these terrorists will start exterminating people left and right like it's nothing. Arabs, by the way, Arabs, Christians, Arab Sunnis also, Alawites, Shiite Arabs that are predominantly living in Latakia province. When it comes to Kurdish controlled territories and relationships between these terrorist groups and their Kurdish formations, well, yesterday reports were coming in that Kurdish groups, Kurdish armed forces, were forced to withdraw from several cities that they were in control of. Manbij, for example, city was left by Kurdish forces, and the entire surrounding areas, by the way, basically, and Kurdish forces crossed the Euphrates River, and are trying now to create their stand on the right side, the right bank of the river. But in any case, because Kurds are backed by US and some other NATO member states, I guess Washington, London, Paris, Brussels, and Ankara will find some compromise, and even though most likely these Turkish pro-Turkish terrorists will push Kurdish forces in certain areas, probably Ankara will agree, at least for time being, that this part of Syria is controlled by Kurds. After all, Ankara is celebrating big victory right now, and they achieved this victory by occupying vast parts of Syria. They achieved this victory as a result of Israeli support, actually, and the support of Washington and London, right? So of course Ankara will take in account position of these parties. And after all, one should keep in mind that Turkey is a part of a broader geopolitical agenda, geopolitical game of the Western ruling class, not just in regards to Middle East, but in regards to confrontation with China. And one may ask, what Syrian situation has to do with China, but it's directly connected, by the way, and I will explain why. Among these terrorist groups that conducted this offensive, these Western-backed, Turkish-backed terrorist groups, majority is a Turkic speaker, first of all, right? Main battle force of these terrorists are Turkic speakers. Some of them are locals in Syria. They are from Idlib province, for example, or somewhere else, but they consider themselves as Turks. They are Turkic speakers. They are pro-Turkish, and those terrorist groups are quite effectively controlled by Turkey, right? But simultaneously, according to sources, according to information in open sources, and you can check it, by the way, there are thousands and thousands of Turkic speakers among these terrorists from Central Asian republics of the former Soviet Union, right? Uzbekistan, for example, there are thousands and thousands of citizens of Uzbekistan. I'm quite sure there are significant number of significant number of these terrorists are from Kyrgyzstan and also from Kazakhstan. And all three republics, by the way, are Turkic-speaking republics, and that is important. This nuance is important. I will explain why. There are thousands of, according to some reports, there are thousands of Tajiks also among these terrorist formations, but Tajiks are not Turkic speakers. They are Iranic speaking people, right? They are distinguished, some differences there. But anyways, when it comes to these Turkic speaking terrorists, I said many times before that in my personal opinion, Western ruling class is planning to destabilize Central Asian republics, especially ones that are bordering China, to use these borderline areas of these republics as a stronghold to penetrate China, Chinese northern western regions where ethnic minorities are living, by the way. And those ethnic minorities, including Uyghurs, are also Turkic speakers. Their significant majority among ethnic minorities are Uyghurs, and there are also a significant number of Kazakhs that are living in these parts of China, and some other ethnic minorities. They all are Turkic speakers. Obviously, vast majority is Muslim, and well, I believe Western ruling class, while actively using Turkey to penetrate Central Asia, will also now use its assets, its means that they have in these republics to destabilize them and to create these uncontrolled areas next to border with China, so that then these terrorist groups will be deployed from Syria to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and then they will be used to penetrate China and destabilize these northern western parts of this country, right? That's a major scenario that they have, I believe, and I guess we will see this strategy is playing out already in 2025. After all, one should keep in mind that Turkey definitely don't need, after establishing control over their vast areas of Syria, Turkey itself don't really need no more those thousands and thousands of Uyghurs to stay in Syria, thousands of Uzbeks or Kyrgyz or Kazakhstani citizens that are members of these terrorist groups, and they will be redeployed in Central Asia. They will be spearhead of their Turkey and the Western ruling class to penetrate Chinese, these northern western parts, and to destabilize that region. And therefore, I believe leadership of these countries, Central Asian republics, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, although yet again Tajikistan is not a Turkic-speaking republic, but there are plenty of Tajik citizens of Tajikistan that are members of that terrorist groups. So security forces of this republic should be on high alert, because they are, I mean, Central Asia is the next hotspot on the geopolitical map. That's for sure. And of course, China is monitoring situation. I'm quite sure about it, and they will take all the necessary measures to neutralize potential threats. So as you can see, dear friends, there is direct connection, isn't it, between situation that is developing in Syria and the Central Asia and also China. Although this is not all. This is not all. India, by the way, is also, I guess, pays a big attention to current developments in Syria, because Indian leadership, Indian security services, they know perfectly well about the involvement of Turkish secret services and Turkish-backed extremist and terrorist formations in radicalizing people, in destabilizing situation in Kashmir, province, for example, and also in Bangladesh, right? So it's not just Pakistan that is acting against India in these regions, but Turkey is actively involved also. And one may ask why. I mean, where is the Turkey and where is the India? Well, point is that Ankara wants to be seen as a leader in a Sunni Muslim world, right? Ankara is trying to be competitor to Saudi Arabia. And therefore, whenever there is any opportunity to play some role, positive, negative, Ankara is there, always, right? And India is not exception, and the neighboring territories, right? So very significant development. And by the way, Russia is also on a high alert, I will say, Russian security services, because in Russia there is at least several Turkic-speaking autonomous republics in the northern Caucasus region, right? Kabardino-Balkaria, for example. There are autonomous regions also, Karacheva, Cherkessia, and after all, by the way, Tatarstan Autonomous Republic, which hosted the BRICS summit just recently. By the way, it's not in Caucasus, obviously. It's in central Russia. So Tatarstan Autonomous Republic is also Turkic speaking. Tatar people are Turkic speakers, right? Russian and Turkic speakers. And there are many reports, by the way, in Russian segment of internet about attempts of Turkish-backed extremist formations, terrorist organizations to penetrate Russia, especially these republics of the Russian Federation. And also in Crimea, by the way, in Crimea, where Tatars are living also, and Crimean Tatars are also Turkic speakers, right? So of course, Russian security services will also, closely monitor the situation to make sure that this emboldened and somewhat drunk Turkish leadership, drunk with this current success, that will cost Turkey dearly in the long run. This Turkish leadership and security services and all sorts of terrorist groups that are backed by Turkey will not pose existential threat to Russia. So very important developments definitely are taking place, and echoes, as I already said, echoes of current developments in Syria will be heard in many other regions of this world, a long way from Syria, right? So that's been said. What else can be added, by the way? I said yesterday that most likely in upcoming months, upcoming years, we will see significant deterioration of the relationships between Arab countries and Turkey. They historically have difficult relationships, but now I guess Arab countries will see Turkey as a main threat, right? Or one of the major threats. Also, I see, if you ask me, probably, I will tell you that relationships between Russia and Turkey will also deteriorate significantly. Even though Russian leadership is demonstrating this pragmatic approach, minimum emotions, maximum pragmatic approach, which is, I guess, right approach when you are in charge of country. I guess Russian leadership would find it difficult to maintain even current level of these working relationships with Ankara because of immense unpopularity of such an approach in society. Because I believe, I don't have statistics on my hands right now, but I believe if study was conducted right now, majority of public here in Russia will say that Russia should downgrade relationships with Turkey as much as possible. Maybe even completely halt any relationships at all, right? Because Turkey, in just last couple of years, by the way, backstabbed Russia on several occasions, right? And now this is happening. Of course, all this stuff is influencing public opinion, and I believe vast majority here, including myself, by the way, are for downgrading relationships with Turkey. And if it was up to me, I will completely halt any relationships at all. I will cut diplomatic ties with Turkey. I will cut economical ties with Turkey, any ties. And some may say that, in that case, Turkey will shut down these straits, Bosphorus and Dardanelles straits. Turkey cannot shut down those straits according to agreements that are in place. It does not really matter if Russia has or don't have diplomatic relationships with Turkey, right? Because if Turkey will shut down those straits, that will be declaration of war. And trust me, if Russia wants to, Turkey might be obliterated in matter of 24 hours, literally obliterated in 24 hours. I'm not exaggerating, but because Russia is acting extremely responsibly with Russia is exercising, Russian leadership is exercising restraint time after time after time. Many people is forgetting that Russia is a nuclear superpower. I mean, major nuclear superpower in this world, right? And Russia can literally obliterate Turkey in less than 24 hours. And then after that, there will be no more Turkey on political map ever, right? That's what Russia can do in less than 24 hours. And maybe it is time for Moscow to really demonstrate what kind of force Russia is, one way or another. But some demonstration of force clearly is needed, because seems like many in this world are forgetting what can Russia do, if necessary, of course, right? Anyways, well, situation is obviously quite dramatic for Syrian people. It's an absolute tragedy. Maybe some locals in Syria are not yet realizing that what has happened, but I'm afraid in relatively short time they will have no option but to flee Syria and seek refuge in some other countries. So Europe should embrace itself for new waves of refugees. Already thousands and thousands of people are trying to cross in Iraq, in Lebanon, and this process will only intensify. So that's when it comes to all this story for now. Let's continue with some more news. Andrea Novosti is reporting that Israel, first time in more than half a century, deployed troops into Syria beyond occupied Golan Heights. Israeli tanks, armored vehicles entered the bordering areas of Syria and are creating now sort of buffer zone. Syrian Air Force is actively bombing all the military warehouses, munition depots that the Syrian Arab Army has left, especially ones that are holding some long-range weapon systems. US is also actively conducting airstrikes. According to reports that I see in media, US alone conducted more than 70 airstrikes on Syria, by the way, in last 24 to 48 hours. And I guess this process will continue. Israel, US, maybe UK will join this process. They will try to take out all the long-range capabilities of that terrorists may gain if they will take control of these warehouses, military warehouses, and their munition depots. So process is on the way in that regard. Also, by the way, I already mentioned Russian military bases, but we have this report also from Vzglyad newspaper that according to former prime minister of Syria, topic of Russian military bases in the country will be decided with by these terrorist groups. And as I already said, there are some well-informed sources on Russian segment of internet that already are reporting that preparations to withdraw from Syria has begun, and Russian bases most likely will leave this country. Russian militaries will leave this country in relatively short time. Let's go through other topics now. TASS news agency is reporting that according to Russian Defense Ministry, Russian armed forces liberated Blagodatnaya settlement. Also, we have this report that, well, Trump, by the way, after having a meeting with Macron and Zelensky in France, in Paris, made some interesting statements, interesting and strange, I will say, statements. We have this headline: Ukraine would like to make a deal with Russia, according to him. So Ukraine would like to make a peace deal with Russia. US President-elect Donald Trump has claimed after a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky in Paris. In a post on his Truth Social platform on Sunday, Trump called for an immediate ceasefire and negotiations between Moscow and Kiev. Trump's remarks came after reports emerged of a regime change in Syria, a key ally of Russia in the Middle East. Jihadists have taken over the Syrian capital Damascus and toppled President Bashar Assad's 24-year rule. In his post, Trump speculated that Assad's protector, Russia, was not interested in protecting him any longer. Well, it's not about Russia is not willing to protect Assad any longer. It was never about Assad's protection, right? Russia went there to protect Syria, to protect Syrian people. And if locals did not realize that until now, well, they will realize after these terrorists will basically enslave them. They will realize now, and many Syrians, thousands, hundreds of thousands of Syrians, maybe millions, will regret that they did not fight and die against those terrorists. Those terrorists gonna make from Syria hell, by the way. If it was a bad right now situation in Syria, then I mean you cannot even imagine what is going to happen there after these terrorists overtake their country. So Russia did not get engaged in this conflict anymore because Syrians themselves did not fight for them, for their freedoms, for their rights, for their security. If Syrians give a decent fight to these terrorists, then I guess, there is in that case, there would be high chances that Russia will help as much as possible, right? But when Moscow see that, Syrian Arab army is disappearing, locals are not willing to fight for themselves, to protect themselves, of course, Moscow has its calculus, isn't it? And I guess Russian leadership said, what, if these people don't fight for themselves, then how we can send our troops? How can we ask our troops to go there, fight and risk their lives? It's not appropriate, right? So, it's all up to Syrian people right now. If they were prepared to fight, then Russia would help. Iran would help, by the way. Hezbollah would continue to help. Iraqi formations will continue to help. But because the Syrian Arab army decided that they don't want to fight, They just, you know, the entire army is disintegrated. I mean, disappeared, by the way. I mean, this is something extraordinary had happened there, right? With the Syrian Arab army. Uh, there was no active calls for total mobilization in Syria of their people, not even attempts to mobilize people, you know, ordinary citizens to, you know, take up arms and protect themselves, their relatives, their families, their country. So why should anyone think that while locals are not really acting, Russia or Iran or Hezbollah or some other parties will, you know, would see themselves obligated to send troops there to fight and die for them? It's not happening. So Trump is wrong on that, at least partially. He might wanted to say something else, but he said what he said. Also, by the way, he went on and said that Russia lost all interest in Syria because of Ukraine, where close to 600 Russian soldiers lay wounded or dead in a war that should never have started and could go on forever, Trump stated, claiming that Russia is currently in a weakened state because of Ukraine and their bad economy. Well, by the way, I mean, when it comes to this statement clearly demonstrates that Trump has some big issue when it comes to his advisors, because he is just too ill-informed, man. If he really thinks that Russia lost 600,000 military personnel, if he really thinks that Russian economy is in tatters, as Ursula washing machine loves to say, then I don't know, man. Then that is too bad, you know. He is about to become next president of US, and if he is this bad informed, by the way, then that's, I don't know, man. That's just too bad. Too bad. You have to change advisors, man, because this is appalling, man. You are about to become a president of major superpower and you are this ill-informed? Really? I mean, this is even dangerous, by the way. If Trump thinks that Russia is weakened and their Western ruling class is winning and Russia lost some 600,000 or 6 million or 60 million or 600 million military personnel, I mean, well, then he would not be incentivized to act adequately, I guess. Right? So this is a big issue, you know. Some may say, I mean, who cares? He tweeted something on his social network, not big deal. No, it is big deal, by the way. It is big deal because this tweet demonstrates how ill-informed he is. And in a couple of weeks' time, he is going to be a president of US, right? So this tells you what kind of people are around him, right? What kind of information he is getting, how correct, how accurate. So it is a big deal. But anyways, let's go through this news, sir. Anyways, so he went on to say that likewise, Zelensky and Ukraine would like to make a deal and stop the madness. They have ridiculously lost 400,000 soldiers and many more civilians. There should be an immediate ceasefire and negotiations should begin. The president-elect said, adding that if the conflict is not resolved, it can turn into something much bigger and far worse. Well, in the final part, yes, I can agree with that, that if this conflict is not resolved, if Western ruling class will refuse to de-escalate and back off, basically, from Russia, then this conflict definitely can transform into something much bigger and much more devastating for entire humanity. That's for sure. But yet again, when it comes to some basics, take a look at what he's saying, by the way, that Zelensky's regime lost 400,000 troops. Even Western experts, by the way, Western experts are saying that overall casualty numbers, killed and wounded, on part of Kiev regime is well over a million, right? Only KAAs on part of Kiev regime is 500,000 to 600,000 KAAs. And for, according to military statistics, for every KAA there is at least 3 to 5 wounded, right? And meanwhile, Trump is operating with this number. He's saying that Russia lost 600,000 and Kyiv regime lost 400,000. Come on, man. You does he really believe in this nonsense? I don't know, but this is just too bad, man. You cannot be this ill-informed about objective reality, you know? Anyways, when it comes to his calls, by the way, I mean, this is not enough. This is clearly not enough. Some concrete steps should be taken by the Western ruling class to de-escalate, because Russia cannot do that, right? Russia is protecting itself from this assault from the Western ruling class. So what can Russia do? One may say, you know, what, withdraw troops from the so-called Ukraine, and that's gonna be it. No, man, that's not gonna be it. That's not gonna be it. Maybe Russia should, you know, applaud extermination of Russian speakers in this former Soviet republic also, or maybe should Russia invite NATO militaries inside the Russia to occupy us? Maybe Russia invite Western so-called elites to also run Russia? No, right? Russia is defending itself, so Russia cannot de-escalate. Russia is under attack. So only side that can really de-escalate is Western ruling class. So these statements don't really make no difference if Trump or whatever groups are behind him. Among two decision makers in the West, they should start de-escalating until it's not too late, and they should come up with something that Russia may, you know, take seriously and discuss. Maybe they will. Let's wait until 20th of January, and then we will see if something pragmatic or realistic comes out from Washington. Meanwhile, Trump, by the way, also stated that when asked if there is a possibility that U.S. under his leadership, U.S. will minimize military aid to Kyiv regime, he said he answered positively that yes, that might happen. Okay, U.S. should stop supplying any weapons to this terrorist, Nazi, and mass murderous regime in Kyiv. U.S. should never get involved in this proxy war against Russia, but you know. And Zelensky, by the way, according to TASS news agency, Zelensky reacted on the statements of Trump angrily. He once again probably had some poor quality powder and forgot who he is and where his place is, and he started criticizing statements of Trump. He said that he refused to basically take Trump's statements about ceasefire and de-escalation and so on. I'm telling you, man, this psycho is going more and more crazy. Really, he's clearly forgetting who he is, you know, and who is to whom he is working. Really, who is the boss, you know. Someone should give him some proper quality powder, because I mean he is losing it clearly. Or even better, someone should take him in rehab, so that he may start to think little better. So Vladimir Zelensky rejected U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's call for immediate ceasefire. This is not just a piece of paper and a few signatories, Zelensky wrote in the Telegram channel. He also said that he does not accept peace agreement without security guarantees. Then, quote, I said at the meeting with Trump and the French President Emmanuel Macron last Saturday that we need a just and a strong world. Therefore, when we talk about effective peace, we must first First of all, talk about effective guarantees of peace, Zelensky wrote, or whatever that means. At the same time, he did not comment on Trump's statements about Kyiv's readiness to conclude an agreement with Moscow. So yes, he's critical. He's forgetting. He also was not happy that Trump mentioned this number of losses of the Kyiv regime. Very extremely incorrect and conservative number of 400,000. In reality, as I said, dear friends, even Western military experts are saying that Kyiv regime already sacrificed over 1 million of its citizens for geopolitical agenda of the West, killed and wounded. So yeah, Zelensky was not happy that Trump was sharing some numbers there, but yet again, he's forgetting where his place is, man. Interfax is reporting that Georgia is unfortunately on a crossroads still, and this Western-controlled so-called opposition, non-governmental organizations, and their media groups are still trying to destabilize country, conduct a regime change, and in process, we have this report that according to Georgia's Ministry of Internal Affairs, already 400 extremists were arrested for their criminal activity during these, demonstrations, during these riots. Basically, I cannot call this a demonstration when these radicals or extremists are firing at the police with their Molotov cocktails or with their fireworks. I mean, this is not a peaceful protest no more, right? This is riots. And the Georgian government is demonstrating some unimaginable restraint, by the way, while dealing with these extremists, Western-controlled, financed, and directed extremists. And as I said quite a few times before, if Georgian government will not take some stronger action to neutralize leadership of these extremists, then unfortunately risk that Western ruling class will succeed with the regime change will only increase. So some strong steps need to be taken, and I will end this update, dear friend, on this news that South Korea arrests former defense minister for alleged treason. So turmoil is continuous in South Korea, by the way, after President of Republic declared martial law, and then next day lifted this martial law. It happened just a couple of days ago, isn't it? And even the defense minister of South Korea, who obeyed orders of the president after apologized and stepped down, well, seems like a ruling party, and in parliament, by the way, majority is definitely not a supporter of a president. They are from different political groups. So this majority seems very much unhappy with the president, with the defense minister, with the minister of interior affairs, internal affairs, with many other governmental officials, and they already arrested this person. Defense minister, former South Korean defense minister Kim Yong-yuan has been arrested over his alleged role in the decision by President Yoon Suk-yeol to declare martial law earlier this week. Yonhap news agency has reported, and by the way, ruling party in South Korea is considering to ban President of Republic from traveling abroad. So I guess they are very serious about impeaching current president and then to prosecute him also. So some serious stuff is happening there in South Korea, by the way. I was thinking that political class, political system in South Korea is much more stable, but I was clearly mistaken, because look what is happening. President just wake up one day and said, you know what? I'm gonna do martial law. I'm gonna arrest opposition leaders. I'm gonna I mean, what the hell, man? Then opposition goes crazy about that, and they are arresting officials. It's crazy, man, crazy. And this is not good for South Korea, by the way, obviously. So for South Korean economy and for South Korean people, but I guess they will sort it out. I guess they will sort it out. And as long as there is no bloodshed and ordinary people are not suffering, political crisis can be resolved. So this is it for now, dear friends. This is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. This is the only way we can at least try and influence immensely aggressive algorithm. Yesterday we managed, dear friends. If you notice, yesterday's video reached I don't know, 10 or 11,000 views. So somehow yesterday we managed to influence algorithm. Maybe we can do it today also. Thanks to you, by the way. Thanks to your views, your likes and comments. And if you like my work, if you think I deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, including my crypto wallet in case you are good in with the crypto. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.